You owe no explanation to those who thrive in confusion. Your clarity is not meant to justify itself to those who refuse to see. There comes a time in everyone's life when they realize not all wish to understand them. Some seek to challenge you, others aim to control you, and some simply want to unsettle you until you question your own truth. You've been taught your whole life to communicate better, to explain yourself clearly, to be transparent, as if understanding is guaranteed when you open your heart. But consider this, some people are not confused at all. They see exactly who you are, and that's precisely the issue. Their misunderstanding is not accidental. They deliberately misinterpret you because your clarity threatens the falsehoods they cling to. Your growth highlights their stagnation. Your peace amplifies their inner turmoil. These are not people lacking wisdom. They lack good intentions. They do not want truth. They want to drain your spirit, hoping you'll shrink to fit their bitterness. And here lies the trap. You keep explaining, defending, and justifying your choices, values, and boundaries as if your worth is on trial. You hope they'll finally say, "Now, I understand," but they won't. They never intended to. Their goal is not understanding, it's control. Your willingness to explain becomes a tool they twist, turning your truth into a weapon against you. It's time to stop, not out of resentment, but out of wisdom. You don't need to argue with those who thrive in darkness. Your value doesn't require defense against those who choose to misunderstand. Your light needs no explanation for those drawn to shadows. There's a reason your silence unsettles them more than your words ever could. Silence holds power, defines boundaries, and establishes your dignity as non-negotiable. This message isn't about anger, but about clarity, reclaiming your energy from those who feed on confusion and emotional chaos. This is a message of emotional wisdom, psychological boundaries, and quiet self-respect in a world addicted to noise and reaction. If you're exhausted from explaining yourself to those unworthy of your truth, stay with me. In this video, we'll explore why some demand endless explanations, why silence is your strongest shield, and how to reclaim your inner peace, your worth and strength to move forward without apology. Begin with this firm decision. Stop justifying yourself to the doubts of others and remember who you are. Not every attack is personal. Some don't oppose you for who you are, but for what your presence reflects back to them. Let this truth settle deeply. You are not their enemy, you are their mirror. When someone carries unresolved pain, unhealed insecurities, or lingering turmoil, your peace becomes unsettling. Your boundaries feel like defiance. Your growth feels like a threat. Why? Because your light forces them to confront their own darkness. They don't resent your success, but what it reminds them they haven't achieved. They don't envy your confidence, but how it exposes their self-doubt. They don't attack your voice because it's wrong, but because it's clear. Clarity terrifies those who live in emotional unrest. In Stoic terms, this is called projection. When someone cannot face their inner truth, they push it outward. They label you arrogant when you're simply confident. They call you selfish when you set boundaries. They deem you difficult when you stop pleasing others. Without emotional wisdom, you might believe their words. You could mistake their projections for truth, doubting yourself, shrinking your presence, and questioning your instincts, not because you're wrong, but because their unhealed pain casts shadows onto you. This is how inner struggles manifest, not as monsters in stories, but as subtle manipulators in daily life. They smile while quietly undermining your confidence. They feign care, but compete in secret. Their advice reflects their limits, not your potential. The hardest part, they often wear familiar faces. It may be a parent, sibling, partner, friend, or employer. It's easy to spot a stranger trying to diminish you, but far harder to accept that someone you love might be wounding your spirit. Yet, if you value your worth and seek to protect your peace, you must face this truth. Not everyone in your life has the emotional capacity to support your growth. Some who claim to care may not truly value your progress. They cherish the older, more compliant version of you, easily swayed, controlled, or pressured to conform. When you evolve, they feel unsettled. They say, "You've changed," as if you've betrayed them. But that's the heart of it, isn't it? You have changed. You're not meant to stay the same. Growth is the goal. Their unresolved envy, anger, or stagnation cannot bear your transformation. So they provoke you, bet you, or pull you into arguments. When that fails, they play the victim. This isn't love, it's emotional conflict. The only way to prevail is to refuse to engage. Explaining your boundaries to someone who benefits from your lack of them is a losing battle. You're speaking truth to those who thrive on distortion. You're reasoning with those who live in delusion. You offer vulnerability to those who see compassion as a tool to exploit. No matter how carefully you choose your words or how often you explain, they won't hear you. They filter everything through their own pain. They twist every truth you share into a weapon against you. This is why you must stop explaining, not from pride, but from wisdom. You're not here to fix what they refuse to face. You're not here to carry their shadows. You're here to walk in your truth, quietly, resolutely, without apology. If your truth unsettles them, so be it. That's their mirror to face, not your burden to bear. There's a subtle tragedy in the lives of kind-hearted, gentle souls. They believe that enough explanation, openness, or clarity will lead to understanding, yet they fail to see that explaining to those already set in their judgments isn't transparency, it's self-erasure. It begins quietly. You speak your truth, and they distort it. You set a boundary, and they call it selfish. You step away from toxicity, and suddenly you're the villain in their story. So you explain, defend, and justify. You replay conversations in your mind, wondering if you could have spoken differently. You soften your truth, hoping they'll finally see your heart. But they don't, and they never intended to. Each attempt to appease them chips away at your spirit. You begin to doubt. Am I too harsh? Am I overreacting? Should I let it go? Maybe I'm at fault. This isn't just fatigue, it's spiritual erosion. The slow unraveling of self-respect as you seek approval from those who withhold it. This happens when you forget that your truth doesn't need permission to exist. If you're not vigilant, you'll spend years trapped in this cycle, justifying your kindness to the cruel, your boundaries to the selfish, your peace to those who thrive on chaos. No matter how eloquently you explain, they won't receive it. Why? Because they don't listen to understand, they listen to refute. They wait for cracks in your confidence, weaknesses in your voice, to manipulate and make you doubt your reality. You have no obligation to justify your peace to those who choose conflict. Let this be your new boundary. This doesn't mean becoming cold or closed off. but choosing your energy wisely. True emotional wisdom knows that not every why deserves an answer. Not everyone who demands access to your heart deserves your reasons. Not every challenge to your choices comes from care or respect. Some act from envy, others from control, and some simply project their own struggles. Explaining too much only fuels their belief that they're entitled to your clarity. But you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to walk away. You have the right to say, "I won't explain to those who weaponize my words." This isn't defensiveness. It's psychological self-preservation. Silence, born of dignity, not ego, marks profound maturity. It declares, "I know who I am. I know why I choose as I do. And I no longer seek understanding from those who profit from my confusion." This quiet strength separates those who react impulsively from those who act with wisdom. The Stoics understood this long before psychology named it. Don't waste time debating those who thrive on disruption. You're not here to persuade. You're here to live your values, truth, and future with unwavering commitment. Why do you feel compelled to explain yourself to those who show no interest in understanding? Why do you give your energy to those who take without giving back? The answer lies deeper than you might think. It's not weakness or lack of reason, it's a belief, ingrained over time, that you must correct every misunderstanding. You've tied your worth to being liked, confusing acceptance with safety. When someone questions your choices, beliefs, or identity, you feel urged to explain, to defend, to seek peace in chaos. But here's the truth. You cannot find peace by negotiating with turmoil. Peace comes when you protect your energy from disruption. Emotional wisdom is essential here, for without it, you'll exhaust yourself trying to convince those who are emotionally unavailable. They don't misunderstand you by accident. They provoke to keep you engaged. They prod, challenge, and twist your words because your explanations give them power, not because your logic fails, but because your attention is their currency. Understand this. Your focus is your strength. Whoever controls your emotional attention shapes your inner state. When someone provokes you to explain or defend, they're controlling your energy. By drawing you into their arena of argument, they pull you away from your inner calm. You trade your peace for their approval, and that exchange is always a loss. Some thrive on your discomfort, feeling powerful when you scramble to justify yourself. They feel validated when you lower your standards to match their chaos. They gain recognition when you explain your soul just to ease their ego. This isn't connection, it's control. The more you feed it, the more you lose yourself. Over-explaining carries a hidden reward. It feels productive, like you're fixing something. It gives a false sense of control, as if the right words will finally bring clarity, but they won't understand, because their intent isn't curiosity, it's ego. The ego doesn't seek truth, it seeks victory. Each time you explain or defend, you fuel their game, draining your spirit. This is where your self-worth must rise. Recognize that not everyone deserves your truth. Not everyone has the right to know your heart's reasons. Not everyone is worthy of your clarity. You have the right to protect your space, to say, "This conversation doesn't serve my peace." This isn't rudeness, it's setting psychological boundaries. It's the mark of a disciplined mind. The most powerful people don't explain themselves to everyone. They act quietly, preserve their energy, and withdraw rather than argue with those who thrive on misunderstanding. It's time to join them. You've spent too long nurturing relationships that cannot grow, too long explaining to those unwilling to hear, too long entrusting your peace to those who never intended to honor it. Let this be your guiding principle. I owe no one an explanation for choices made to protect my peace. When you feel the urge to justify or defend, pause, breathe, and remember, you weren't placed here to perform for those who secretly wish for your failure. Deep down, you explain because you crave acknowledgement. You want someone to say, "I see you. I understand." That desire for validation is human, but it's a dangerous trap. When your peace depends on others' understanding, you lose your freedom. You were taught that being understood equals safety. That approval of your thoughts or dreams ensures you're secure. But the truth is, most people approve only when you make them comfortable. Comfort rarely comes from truth. It comes from conformity. What happens when you break their mold? When you grow beyond their limits, you become harder to relate to. You're no longer controllable. You're a threat. Instead of adapting, they respond with blame, silence, or manipulative questions. Why are you acting this way? When did you become so distant? They're not confused. They're unsettled because you no longer seek their approval. Yet you keep explaining, hoping this time they'll understand. If they truly cared, they'd ask better questions. They wouldn't weaponize your vulnerabilities. Why do you return to this cycle? Because you've mistaken validation for love. This is the most painful illusion to break. But break it you must, or you'll remain tethered to those who only value you when you're compliant. You can outgrow others by choosing peace over performance. When you do, they may call you selfish or distant. But choosing peace isn't cold, it's clear. It's clarity that your worth doesn't need external validation to stand firm. This is your turning point. Keep explaining to those who judge, or accept, that understanding isn't required for your truth to be valid. Emotional wisdom is knowing when to speak and when to stay silent, preserving your energy rather than expending it on persuasion. Silence before those expecting a reaction is powerful. It says you're no longer controlled. It starves their drama, denies their satisfaction, and leaves them to face themselves. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength. Not passivity, but a deliberate choice. Sometimes, walking away quietly is the strongest step you can take. No grand explanations, no dramatic endings, just a firm decision. I won't engage with those who choose to misunderstand me. This is the start of emotional freedom and soul discipline. Your life isn't a courtroom. Your choices don't need a jury. Your truth doesn't require a defense. You don't need approval to breathe, applause to heal, or permission to be free. All you need is the courage to stop explaining and the wisdom to know who's unworthy of your words. Consider a woman, wise and full of light, yet imperfectly human. She loved deeply, listened carefully, and gave more than she received. Her flaw, she sought understanding from someone who never intended to see her. His words were charming, but his actions betrayed his true intent. He didn't love her for who she was, but for how she made him feel. She thought explaining would bridge the gap, so she shared her past, her values, her need for boundaries. She explained why solitude mattered, why chaos stirred her anxiety. Each time, he nodded, but later twisted her words. You're too sensitive. You overthink. You're not fun anymore. So she tried harder, softened her voice, excused his behavior. telling herself he meant well, that patience would bring clarity. Then came a chilling realization. She wasn't communicating, she was pleading. The more she explained, the more she lost herself. This is how emotional theft happens, not with force, but through the gradual theft of your truth under the guise of fixing things. This isn't love or misunderstanding. It's what psychology calls a trauma bond, a cycle where you seek affection from the one undermining your spirit. It's not always romantic. It could be a parent guilting you for having needs, a boss who praises one day and criticizes the next. It's the friend who calls only when they need something, then accuses you of being distant when you don't comply. The trap is the same. You explain to gain respect. But respect doesn't come from over-explaining. It comes from self-respect and firm boundaries. If someone can't meet your honesty with honesty, if they use your openness as leverage, if they make being yourself feel like a burden, you're not in a relationship, you're in an emotional contract. Emotional wisdom steps in here, cutting through sentiment with reason. Love sometimes needs rational intervention. You can't always navigate toxicity with feelings alone. You must recognize it, name it, and walk away. No matter how sweet the memories or how much potential you see, apologies alone don't suffice. If someone demands you endlessly explain yourself, they're not confused, they're comfortable with your self-doubt. The most unsettling truth is they'll persist until you stop responding. You cannot change those who profit from misunderstanding you. You cannot heal in a place that keeps reopening your wounds. You cannot find peace through words when facing someone who thrives on chaos. So, how did the woman in our story find healing? She stopped explaining and started reclaiming her strength. She ceased sending long messages to clarify her intentions. She stopped justifying her need for space. She no longer tried to make him understand her. Instead, she embraced silence. And in that quiet, she rebuilt her sense of self. She realized peace isn't earned through performance. It's her inherent right. It's her standard. Those who don't respect it lose access to her presence, not out of spite, but because she finally valued herself enough to guard her energy. You may be that woman, or you're caught in a similar cycle. But the outcome can shift when you stop explaining and start reclaiming control. Your worth isn't something you prove, it's something you protect with unwavering resolve. One day, you'll stand silent, not from anger, but from strength, not from fear, but from clarity. Silence isn't weakness. It's a boundary cloaked in calm. It's power that needs no noise to prove its presence. In a world drawn to drama, your silence will unsettle others. They're used to your emotional reactions, your guilt, your need to explain. When you refuse to engage, they panic because your silence is filled with self-respect. It signals their schemes no longer work, that access to your energy has been revoked. This is the birth of psychological boundaries, not telling others what they can't do, but deciding what you won't tolerate or sacrifice. Boundaries don't need to be loud. They don't require ultimatums. They're felt through your consistency, your refusal to over-explain, your protection of your time, and your choice to walk away with dignity, not drama. People don't challenge your boundaries by chance. They test if your silence is firm. They push, prod, or trigger guilt, hoping you'll revert to explaining or proving you're not the villain. If you give in, the cycle restarts. You must choose. Seek approval from those who misunderstand or embrace unassailable peace. You cannot have both. It takes discipline to stay silent when you want to clarify, maturity to let go of being right, and wisdom to see the argument offers no resolution. You're not obligated to explain your boundaries to those who disregard them. You don't have to teach others how to treat you endlessly. Sometimes, you don't need a stronger message. You need a stronger exit. Those who truly value you don't need constant reminders. They don't test your silence. They respect it. Those who don't were never listening. They were calculating, waiting for you to bend to their expectations. Shift your mindset. You don't need to shout to be heard. Raise your standards to be respected. Don't over-explain, grow beyond. The Stoics taught that peace isn't the absence of conflict, but the presence of clarity. Respond only to what aligns with your highest self. If you're in an emotional, relational, or spiritual storm, pause, step back, and let silence be your shield. Let your distance speak louder than any argument could. By choosing calm over defense, you shift from reaction to resilience. This is how you protect your energy without uttering a word. There's a quiet tragedy around us. Kind-hearted people pour their energy into being understood, keeping peace, or avoiding offense, even at their own expense. No one told you growing up that your peace isn't a bargaining chip, not for a partner, parent, past, or pain. Your peace is your sanctuary, your guiding light, your duty to protect, not a gift to trade for someone's fragile ego. Yet many of us give it away as if it's worthless. We say yes when we mean no. We engage when we should walk away. We explain ourselves until we're exhausted, bitter, and resentful, because we were taught being good means being available, loving means being soft, and spirituality means self-sacrifice. True spiritual discipline isn't sacrificing your joy for others. It's recognizing your inner peace as sacred ground, not open to all. Ask yourself, how often have you stayed in futile conversations to avoid being misjudged? How many times have you justified your values to those who mock them? How often have you traded your peace to ease others' chaos? That's not peacekeeping, it's self-betrayal. Those who resent your boundaries are the ones who benefited from your lack of them. Let that truth guide your actions. When you set psychological boundaries, stop reacting and cease over-explaining. Something remarkable happens. Those who value your peace draw closer, while those who need your chaos to control you call you selfish. That's when you know you're healing. Many won't admit this, but some don't miss the real you. They miss the version that tolerated their disrespect. They miss the you who apologized for having boundaries, who stayed silent in the face of disregard, who explained pain to those who used it against you. That version of you is gone, and it won't return, because you now understand your energy isn't free. Your silence isn't consent. Your peace isn't negotiable. This is emotional wisdom in action, choosing not to fight every battle. Knowing your peace is too valuable to waste. You're not here to bare your soul to everyone. You're not here to fix how others view your choices. You're here to live your truth. Stand firm in your worth, and do so without apology. Let your calm be your response to their demands. When they challenge your silence, let your distance be your answer. When they guilt you for choosing peace, remember, you owe them no chaos to prove you care. Your energy is yours to protect, especially from those who wield it against you. At some point, silence becomes more than a strategy. It's a way of being. It's not just a response to conflict or a shield. It's a declaration I'm done with chaos. This stillness isn't passive, it's powerful, untouchable, and resolute. You don't stay silent from fear or weakness. You're silent because you've mastered what others haven't begun to grasp. Your greatest statement is made in absolute stillness. When you stop reacting, you see clearly who relies on your chaos to feel powerful. You notice who needs your emotional unrest to feel in control, who only feels close when you're breaking. Suddenly, you no longer miss them. You don't need their apologies or closure. You don't chase validation. Because peace doesn't beg, it simply exists. This is the essence of emotional wisdom. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every accusation needs defense. Not every wound must be reopened to prove a point. Sometimes, the most healing act is to do nothing, no retaliation, no exposure, just presence. Your quiet confidence says, "You may think you've won because I don't fight back, but I'm not leaving in defeat. I'm leaving in victory, with my peace intact." This is true self-mastery, a rare strength in a reactive world. When you reach this point, your absence speaks louder than words ever could. They'll sense you're not avoiding them, you're simply done with their drama. You're not ignoring them, you're refusing to repeat old cycles. That's what unsettles them. They've relied on your reactions, your guilt, your need to explain. When you choose stillness, they lose access not just to your presence, but to the control they once had over your mind. Your silence becomes their reckoning. It's no longer about winning an argument. It's about rising above it. You don't care about being right. You care about being free. That shift terrifies those who want you small, suffering, or controlled. Silence is your refusal to play a rigged game. Silence is your escape from their emotional traps. It's where your inner peace resonates louder than any external noise. If you wonder whether this silence means you've given up, know this. It's not surrender, it's self-mastery. Echoing louder than any words. You stop shrinking. You stop softening your voice to spare egos. You stop diluting your truth to make it palatable. You stop apologizing not from arrogance, but because you see the trap. Every apology for being yourself permits others to disrespect you. You've apologized for growing, for stepping back, for needing space, for saying no, for leaving. You've apologized for your honesty, your clarity, your standards. But now you know the world doesn't need a muted version of you. It needs you, unfiltered and unashamed. You were never too much. They simply wanted you smaller. Your emotional depth exposes their shallowness. Your clarity reveals their confusion. Your calm makes their chaos uncomfortable. So they label you cold, harsh, or selfish. But you're none of those. You've simply stopped sacrificing your worth on the altar of their insecurities. This is psychological detachment, not from love or connection, but from expectations, from emotional blackmail that demands you dim your light or lose them. Now you see, losing those who demand you betray yourself isn't loss, it's liberation. You no longer feel guilty for raising your standards. You don't explain why your peace matters. You don't apologize for cutting off access to those who weaponized your kindness. You don't apologize for seeing through manipulation and choosing mental health. You don't apologize for prioritizing inner peace over external approval. This is emotional wisdom, at its strongest, mastering how you respond to those who exploit your emotions. Let them call you what they will. Let them spin their story. Let them play the victim in a tale where you simply chose not to be their pawn. Your freedom feels like rebellion to those still caged by their own limitations. Living unapologetically. You make different choices. You avoid arguments you didn't start. You ignore questions not worth answering. You stop explaining your growth to those stuck in emotional immaturity. You don't waste energy proving your peace is valid. Let them say you've changed or lost your way. They'll say you were easier to control before, though they won't admit it. Deep down, they know you haven't worsened. You've become whole. And that wholeness threatens those who only loved your fragments. Let them misjudge you from afar. Let them talk while you grow. While they speak, you're rising, healing, building. You're stepping into the life meant for you. With every choice, boundary, and unapologetic breath. In that space, something miraculous happens. You love yourself as you once begged others to, without conditions, without reasons, without explanations. You owe no one anything but the truth of who you are. You've said enough. You've defended your heart. You've explained your peace. Now, let silence speak. No more justifying your worth, clarifying your growth, or proving what should have been respected from the start. Some don't deserve your words, only your absence. There's a power only silence can hold, not of defeat, but of release. It's the silence of spiritual clarity, saying, I'm at peace with being misunderstood, and I don't need your permission to be free. This silence terrifies those who control through guilt or chaos. Your words once gave them excuses to argue or manipulate. Now, with nothing to twist or attack, they face only your calm, your distance, your unshakable resolve. That speaks louder than any debate. It says you've outgrown the conversation. It says their approval no longer defines you. It says, I'm not angry, I'm done. This is the pinnacle of emotional wisdom. Observe, withdraw, and let silence be your strength. True power lies in discipline, not domination. Silence is the most disciplined response. It seeks no approval, begs no understanding. It simply walks away, letting the void speak for itself. And they will hear it in your quiet absence. They'll hear every boundary you no longer explain. They'll feel every ounce of energy you've reclaimed. They'll face their own reality without your voice to soften the truth. And then, they'll either grow or remain bitter. But that's no longer your burden. Healing isn't just becoming whole. It's letting go of the need to be understood by those who choose to wound. Let them sit with your silence. Let them wrestle with their own noise. Let them wonder why their control vanished when you stopped speaking. Then they'll see you were never the problem, you were the mirror, and the reflection was too real for them to bear. You owe them no words, no closure, no more justified breaths. You owe only the protection of your peace and truth. Let silence be your answer. Let your life be your proof. Let their confusion be the price of underestimating your strength. You've explained enough. Now live true to yourself, unapologetically and fully. You've spent too many years explaining to those who never listened, pouring energy into translating your heart for egos that refused to hear. Now you know you don't need their understanding. You need your own freedom. Freedom begins when you stop begging to be seen and start seeing yourself. Others' shadows will always try to pull you into chaos, but you weren't born to dwell in their noise. You were born to rise in silence, walk in truth, and remain untouched by turmoil. From now on, you owe no explanations. You don't soften your truth to fit others. You don't trade your peace to ease their chaos. Let your silence resonate. Let your energy speak louder than words. Let your presence be so clear, the world knows who you are without a word. When they ask why you stopped responding, why you left, why you changed, smile and let silence be your final answer. If this message stirs something within you, if it reminds you of your worth, strength, and quiet fire, share it. Support this video. If you're done explaining, join Think Stoic 101 if you're ready to reclaim your energy and live your truth. Declare below, I choose silence. I choose peace. I choose myself.